Tuesday, May 19th. Let me tell you a story. There was once a married couple, and from the outside it would seem that they had everything that anyone could possibly need, for they had wealth beyond most people's imaginations. But the man was mean-spirited, and he kept his wife in her place. He would give her beautiful birthday presents, but only so that he could gloat over her to his friends, making it clear to her that the only thing of value she had came from him. He exercised his power over her at every turn. One day, the man was told that he was sick. In fact, he was dying. The woman tended to him, cared for him as best she could, but the man was as mean as ever. He made it clear to her that in his will he had left her the house and enough money to get by, but he made her promise that she would have the rest of his wealth buried with him in his grave. And if she didn't keep that promise, the will made it clear that everything else was to be stripped away from her. Even in death, he wanted to control her. And so there came the time for the man to die. And he had arranged a large burial plot to receive his wealth. The wife's friends all gathered round her and said, "Surely you're not going to keep that promise. No court in the land would hold you to it." But the woman was a woman of honour, and she said, "I will keep my promise." So there on the day, she walked up to the large burial plot there with the coffin in the extra large grave. She walked up slowly. She said, "Husband, I keep my promise." And into the grave, she dropped a check. Wow. Good ending, hey? Well, for today's thought for the day, we're going back to Proverbs. Listen to this. Wealth is useless on the day of wrath, but virtue saves from death. Wealth is useless on the day of wrath, but virtue saves from death. But what exactly is virtue? Virtue to me is who we are on the inside at our best. When we think about God's character, what we hope for is that the best of him has been rooted in us and grows in us and blossoms in us and produces fruit in us, and that is virtue. Or another way I've heard it described is virtue is the person you are when no one else is looking. Your real character is who you are when there's no one around to show it to. Just you and God. And if you have virtue, you will do the right thing at the right time for the right reason, no matter who is watching, no matter what the consequences, no matter what the circumstances. True virtue is like a stick of rock. It means that your core values are written in the very centre of your being. And if you have Christian virtue, you know that you are the person God created you to be. It's a tough call. And a virtuous person isn't someone who never makes mistakes, but it's someone who knows they've made a mistake, knows they've been tempted, knows they've gone astray, and does what they need to do to put it right, or to apologise, or to say sorry, or to keep short accounts with God. because that's what virtue is. Or that's who we aspire to be if we believe in Christian virtue. You know, as a minister, I've been to a fair few funerals. I've taken a fair few funerals. And at this time, when we know that there are families that haven't been able to grieve properly or to meet together, I am sure that there will be churches that will have a few memorial services for when this lockdown is over, where family will gather in order to celebrate a life well lived. That's the best of a Christian funeral. But you know, I've been to some sad funerals. Funerals with different sides of the family on different sides of the room, where I've been told to keep certain parts of the family away, where I've been asked to inter ashes early in the morning so others can't come. I've been to a few funerals with hardly anyone there, and where the only one to say something is me. I've also been to amazing celebration funerals where people's lives have been talked about and people talk about how the deceased has influenced them, has meant something to them, has been a role model for them. And that's what we all hope for, isn't it? But let's not wait for our funeral. Let's seek virtue. Let's plant virtue in us so that in some ways we're creating the epitaph that we desire right now. We're creating those stories that will be told, not because that's our aim, not because we want people to say nice things about us, but because it's who we are, especially who we are in God. So I trust that you won't be seeking wealth or riches or things. We're all reevaluating things right now, aren't we? But that you will be seeking virtue, God's character, and rooting it deeply in the centre of who you are. So that that's the person you are when no one is looking. Here's another story for you. Another rich man. The dying rich man instructed his butler to hang all of his gold in bags in the attic, so when death came, he could take the money with him on his way to heaven. After he died, the butler checked in the attic. Yep, the bags of gold were still there. I knew it, the butler muttered. I should have hung them in the basement. It's a silly story, but the truth is wealth is temporary. However, Christian virtue is a key for eternal life. See you tomorrow. Bye.